What if Trunks met Kid Bulma? Instead of ending up in age 764 like he does in the original story, the time machine working somehow without any problems whatsoever, I feel that this untested machinery would end up glitching out somewhat. It still goes back in time, but it doesn't go back to the time that he's expecting. And especially since the concept of time travel was really new to people on planet Earth, especially when you're in the middle of fighting two androids. Okay, let's picture the scene. Trunks and future Bulma are just about ready to use the time machine for the very first time. Bulma, seemingly, has actually programmed the time machine to go back to age 764 around the time when Mecha Frieza is about to arrive on Earth, so that means future Trunks can come in, do his slashy and look really cool and provide the warning to the guys, as well as providing the all-important heart medicine, so that means Goku in that timeline has the potential to survive. Everything seems to be functioning normally, causing no complaints or no concerns whatsoever, so people don't bat an eyelid. Bulma and future Trunks should just carry on doing their thing. A calibration error has occurred. The actual timeline and the year calibration on the machine is a bit out of whack, but it's not something overt, so Trunks doesn't really notice this when he's in the cockpit. I feel that Trunks is really desperate to get moving and get back to the past, that means he can do his thing. This is something that a young tempestuous boy, because in the history of Trunks he's proven to be rather desperate and tempestuous, this is just natural for the young teenager. During the actual traveling part through the dimensional portals or whatever it is, Trunks is not really noticing anything different or anything like that. He's thinking now he's going back to age 764. All he has to do is just pluck up the courage to face off against Mecha Frieza, as well as keep his composure, so that means he can deliver the message to the Z Fighters in a rather assured and measured way, instead of bumbling around like a teenager that he actually is. Little does he know that he's going to need all the composure that he can muster. The time machine then plops out of the ether and onto planet Earth. However, something's a little odd here. There's mountains here, and there's too much greenery for the area that he was expecting to end up in. Is this right here? Well, in any case, Trunks has realized that fuel is a bit of a premium here. They only have enough for one round trip because Trunks thought that's all they need. Trunks takes a look at the computer, a little bit suspicious about what's going on, and wishes to check the time period that he's actually landed in, expecting age 764. But due to the error that we supposed upon before, the computer spits out age 764. He breathes a sigh of relief though, because okay, he's in the right year. Okay, yeah, the GPS may be a little bit knocked out of whack, so maybe he has to travel a little bit further than he's expecting, but that's no matter because Trunks can easily fly. He exits the craft and then locks the ship, making a note on his little communication device, which he does have because he managed to point out the exact destination about where he needs to be to meet Goku. Not seeing anyone else around him for seemingly miles, not even any wildlife, he flies up into the air trying to get a better view, and notices there's an actual ridge or what seems like a road. He decides to stop on this flat bit of ground and just take in the view, and realizes for the moment, wow, this is probably the most peaceful area I've ever been to. Because remember, Trunks was coming from a period where conflict was rife. So this moment of peace and contentment, this is brand new. So Trunks is just taking this all in and not really noticing his surroundings. He turns around and spots a very scared looking young girl next to a Renault 5 Turbo, carrying seemingly what looks like a dragon radar, or what he thinks he is based on what he saw in Bulma's drawer, because remember, in that time period it wasn't being used because no Earth Dragon Balls. Why would this girl have a dragon radar? Capsule Corp people are only supposed to know about this. What's going on? What he's got to deal with is a very scared young girl who then decides to flip out and get really angry, or really surprised, and just going, "You! How did you get up here? How can you fly?" He apologizes for scaring her, but this young girl is seemingly still quite guarded at the situation, asking again how this young man could fly, because she didn't see any jetpack on him. Trunks again reiterates that he is not there to hurt her, and decides to break the ice in the only way that he can think of right now, and goes, "Hey, is that a dragon radar? How does this guy know about the dragon radar? Only a few people within Capsule Corp, including herself, know about it. Is this guy from the Red Ribbon Army trying to take away intel from them?" Well, he doesn't seem that way. He's not being militant because that's the way they usually act. And he's wearing a jacket with the Capsule Corp logo on it. Maybe he's one of those interns or something like that. Oh well, he doesn't seem to be that hostile, and hey, besides, he's actually kind of cute. Bulma relaxes a little bit because she finds Trunks extremely attractive. Remember, this Bulma at this age is quite reliant on good looks. Bulma then asks Trunks what his affiliation is with Capsule Corp and where did he get the jacket. And, Trunks then responds saying, oh, his mother's quite high up in the organization, and this jacket was just something that she made for him. Bulma doesn't really ask any more questions and just assumes that the high-up mother in the organization is probably one of those executives that she sees at daddy's business meetings or something like that. She doesn't really pay much attention to those meetings and just, accepts this thing as a rule. She then decides to get quite cozy and get to know this boy by offering him a lift back to Capsule Corp, even though he can fly, but on the one condition that they go and try and find the Dragon Balls along the way. He reckons that it should be alright, he can't sense Mecha Frieza's energy at this point, it's not even close, and also so long as she doesn't realize his name or anything like that, he won't cause any time paradoxes, or at least he hopes not. He just got here a little early, maybe the timing mechanism was off. Oh, Trunks, it was more than just a little off. In the car, there's a bit of an awkward silence, and Trunks accidentally drops a ball and introduces himself by a name. Oh dear. He is not used to awkward silences, so I think he would have blurted this out without realizing it. Bulma then finds this name rather fitting, and actually kinda cute. She then states that fact to Trunks, flirting with him a little bit, and Trunks blushes profusely. He doesn't know that this is his mother right now. And besides, he's not used talking to girls, because remember, the only kind of female contact, regular female contact that he has is his mother in the future, as well as Android 18, which realistically does not count. Trunks then asks her name, and she is stunned that he wouldn't know this fact. You don't know my name, and you work here? It's been blazoned on my chest. It's Bulma. Bulma is pointing to her chest in a very suggestive way, and Trunks at this point is going, hey, focus on the road here, because remember, they're on a mountain pass. But then it hits him. What? This girl is Bulma, she works at Capsule Corp? Yeah, green hair, oh dear, okay. But how? She shouldn't be this young in age 764. And then, where are the others? Where are Piccolo, Gohan, the rest of the Z fighters? He is met, unfortunately, with a blank expression, with Bulma assuming that these are other employee friends of his. Trunks then frantically asks, hey, what year is this? And Bulma's just going, are you really dumb right now? It's age 750. The boy is looking really panicked right now, and he's actually really frustrated with himself. Not only has he now wasted a round trip, which is going to take months to try and refuel, because remember, fuel's at a premium here, he's now in danger of causing a paradox because this girl knows his name, he knows her name, and the way she's acting? Oh, this can't be good. Trunks is then trying to frantically fix this, but then just has to sigh. There's no going back now. He's done all the damage he possibly could. The only thing that he has to really rely on now is that the time machine is safe, no one else can find it, and he just needs to get back as soon as possible. The car is hurled onto its side, with Trunks and Bulma poking out of the car door, spotting Goku in a very defensive position. Trunks then recognizes the young boy and sighs. Oh, that's Goku alright. The hair is a right giveaway. He's already caused enough damage by being here, but he's not disappeared right now, so, he's not changed the future yet, so maybe this thing's okay. Maybe he hasn't caused any damage, and really, it would be rude to just suddenly disappear. Bulma then fires at Goku in retaliation, but Trunks is fast enough to actually catch the bullets with his hand. Goku is amazed by this and asks Trunks where he learnt to do that. Trunks then casually says, oh, my master Gohan taught me. Ah, crud. Fortunately though, Goku confuses this Gohan for Grandpa Gohan. Whoa, Grandpa had another pupil I didn't know about? That's so awesome! They should go back to his house, so that means they can have lunch, and he could maybe teach him some other tricks. As Trunks is beginning to get his story straight, trying to not cause any more damage, Bulma then spots the Dragon Ball in the house, asking whether she can have it or not. We then get the thing in the original, with Bulma trying to convince Goku to join them on their mystical adventure, with Trunks along in tow. When they begin their journey, they are met by the same angry and hungry pterodactyl, which Trunks subdues almost instantaneously. Goku doesn't get a chance. The next day, they meet the sea turtle, which we are all familiar with, who cannot get back to the sea on his own. Trunks then politely volunteers to actually fly the turtle out there instead of them carrying it all that way. Goku is surprised even more. He knows how to fly? Not even Grandpa taught him that. He wants to know too and see it in action. Trunks hovers off the ground for a little bit, demonstrating this to Goku, but then they are accosted by the bear thief, which Goku takes down this time. And Bulma is now really surprised and relieved that she is now accompanied by two strong boys, one of them being particularly her type. Maybe she doesn't need the Dragon Balls for the perfect boyfriend after all. After that's done, Trunks then flies the Sea Turtle, Goku, and Bulma all the way to where they need to go. When they get there, Turtle points out the island beneath them, and Trunks begins to realize that this island's a little familiar. The three then land, and then the Dragon Radar begins to go off the charts, Bulma then realizing that there is a Dragon Ball here. Oh boy, this is even more useful! Trunks introduces himself and his two friends, whereas Roshi is being easily distracted by the young Bulma. But fortunately, Bulma has a defensive mechanism by actually clinging onto the arm of Trunks, stating that this young man is her boyfriend, which Trunks is really scared about and going, oh no, oh no, 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 no. Roshi finds this rather cute. Oh, this teenager can best the Master Roshi? Let's try and prove that theory. Roshi is goading Trunks even more by being really suggestive about his girlfriend. So Trunks then attacks Roshi with all that he has, sending Roshi a couple hundred meters out to sea with a really huge punch, stunning everybody, including Roshi. And once Roshi's able to swim back to shore, he is impressed immensely. And not to mention a little bit scared. And once Bulma states the fact that there is a Dragon Ball here and that she would like it, Roshi does not hesitate by giving them the Dragon Ball. Okay, this punk has proved his worth. Okay, don't hit me again. And besides, he might want to actually try and keep this boy on his side because this could potentially be a very interesting pupil, and he could take all the credit and win all the tournaments and all the prize money. Ooh boy. He then decides to actually try and endear himself to the group by then saying, "Ah, young man, you might be worthy of having my flying Nimbus. Would you like it?" And the flying Nimbus is then summoned and brought down, but Trunks says that he doesn't need it because he can fly, so maybe Goku could have it. And Goku gets on it, he's able to fly around on it, and Roshi goes, "Oh yeah, that's good too." Trunks then begins to smile. He's actually really getting endeared to this world and simplistic life. No conflict or anything like that, no bad guys yet. And yeah, he could stay around for a little bit longer, so long as Mecha Frieza doesn't show up for any long time, which is guaranteed because this is age 750 after all. And nothing bad's happening, so maybe multiverse theory isn't so bad after all. The action continues days after the group met Master Roshi and got the Dragon Ball from him, without Trunks having to see his mother bear all. And he's very grateful of that. Hearing about that as an anecdote in the future was bad enough. They end up in Aru village where Oolong has been causing havoc with the daughters of the village. Trunks remembers this too from his mother's stories. After all, there was no TV in the future and all he could do was listen to future Bulma recount the days of her youth which weren't being harangued by androids. Sure enough, Oolong makes himself known, but Trunks hangs back for the time being to let Goku do his thing. He doesn't want to carry the team because, after all, how would Goku get strong enough to get where he's meant to be in life? And if he does too much for the group, they may become dependent on him, and then how could he ever go? Bulma is curious as to where Trunks is wandering off to, and he claims that, "Oh, it might be more efficient if I go searching for another Dragon Ball, whilst Goku takes on that monster?" Yeah? Bulma's suspicious. How do I know that you're not just gonna take off with the Dragon Radar and leave me for dust? Trunks frantically thinks of an excuse. You got the Dragon Balls already. Why would I take the radar and not the balls too? That and you're pretty. No, Trunks, why did I say that? Bulma blushes like crazy and shuffles her foot coyly. Well, why didn't you say so? I mean, it's the truth, but okay, handsome. Oh dear, Trunks, you almost had it. I'm going now. See ya! And with that, Trunks flies away. Trunks is using this time to clear his head. He needs to, really. Why did he say that to his mother? He can't let these kind of feelings get to him. It was the nerves. That's what it was. Yeah. It was definitely the nerves. Okay, let's focus on getting the other Dragon Balls, okay? He has the radar, so maybe he can help speed things up a little bit. Which Dragon Ball would be the least inconsequential? Which one would matter least? Okay, maybe this ball here. Okay, that should keep him busy for a while. Little does he know that the ball that he's locked onto is deep within Emperor Pilaf's castle. Well, shouldn't be too much of a problem. In not that much time, just a few minutes in fact, Trunks arrives at Pilaf's castle and confirms that this is where the last ball is. But wait, isn't this stealing? It's not like the ball is just laying in the woods or could be acquired through some kind of quest or anything. You know, you earn it. This would be just taking it off someone's hands. It's stealing, it's bad. Trunks soon realizes that this is Emperor Pilaf's castle, after hearing the Emperor's voice ranting and raving and the likes of Mai and Shu placating the diminutive being. Well, okay, this makes things a little easier, I guess. This guy probably shouldn't deserve to have these Dragon Balls at all. Sounds like a bad guy. Meanwhile, Bulma and Goku manage to retrieve the Dragon Ball from Grandma Paozu after successfully besting Oolong in combat, as well as freeing all of the women in his captivity. Bulma uses the added condition to Oolong's capture. Not only will he suffer from a bad case of windy pops whenever she says piggy, but her boyfriend will end him should he step out of line, and he's even stronger than Goku. Oolong doesn't buy this on the surface, but still. That first thing that she said about was bad in of itself. It's best to toe the line for now, and then maybe give them the slip sometime later. In any case, their next goal is Fire Mountain, whilst Trunks goes and gets the other ball. Bulma had a journey to gather the Dragon Balls mapped out from her constant staring at the Dragon Radar, so she wouldn't really need it. She's got a very incredible memory. She really wants that lifetime supply of strawberries. That perfect boyfriend thing, well, she might have found that already. Tee-hee. When things quieten down, Trunks flies up to the window and hovers through the entrance. Luckily, it was left open due to the fact that, well, it's in the middle of, the desert. It gets pretty hot. Using the radar, he manages to locate the one-star ball and silently vacate the premises without anyone hearing that he's taken the ball. And after that, Trunks begins to head back to the others. He's able to locate them pretty easily since they have the other 5 balls and they are currently moving. So by the time he gets to their location, Yamcha has already made himself known to the group after Goku regales to Trunks how awesome of a fighter that Yamcha was, and that Trunks should give him a go as well. Bulma isn't impressed at Goku's admiration for such a person. She's happy to see her love back in one piece, and with the Dragon Ball. Now all they have to do is just to get to Fire Mountain, and they're done. However, Yamcha that night storms the house wagon and tries to jump Goku and have round 2, but he didn't count on Trunks being there. Fortunately for him though, Trunks recognizes this as Yamcha, Bulma's old boyfriend. He tries to calm Yamcha down. The bandit, however, has other ideas and tries to use his wolf-fanged fist against Trunks, but it does nothing. All the while, Trunks is just unfazed. Seriously, Yamcha, I don't want to hurt you, but you need to calm down. What? How do you know my name? Pua then interjects.
Maybe your reputation precedes you, Master.
I guess so. Well, anyway, it's time for you to submit, fool, for I am Yamcha, the awesome desert bandit. He gets knocked out cold.
Thanks, Mr. Trunks. You are the perfect distraction.
Goku managed to knock out not only Yamcha, but one of his teeth as well. So from that point on, Yamcha understandably joins the crew. Next up is Fire Mountain, and the situation isn't as grave as before. With Goku have the flying Nimbus, like in the original, the Ox King isn't hostile to the group at all, and instead just simply asks for help in getting the Bansho fan from Master Roshi. But sure enough, Roshi doesn't have it. Roshi asks if that punk is still with them, and Goku confirms that he is.
Yeah, huh? He's still here and he's kicking butt.
Good. You won't need me. Roshi refuses to come along. In his mind, he doesn't need to do anything since they got that whiz kid along for the ride. He's content to just stick around the Kame house, just doing his thing. Maybe if that boy learns some respect and manners, his elders as well, the master will be more willing to help. He's still sore after that left hook from Trunks earlier. When Goku and Chi-Chi return empty-handed, Trunks has no choice but to intervene. Now, instead of the Kamehameha destroying Fire Mountain, Trunks uses his signature attack, the Burning Attack. Kind of ironic, the Burning Attack against the burning Fire Mountain, huh? After trying to douse the flames by flying really fast around the mountain, to no avail, the young man readies himself up and powers up. He performs the Burning Attack, which ultimately blows up the mountain like Roshi did with the Kamehameha in the original, puts out the fire, pretty much standard. Goku is amazed by this powerful ability and asks Trunks if he could learn it too. Trunks says that might not be such a good idea. After all, he's supposed to learn the Kamehameha so that his own master Gohan could teach him in the future, and Goku's doing the Burning Attack on his own. Albeit it's to the same car that Goku practiced on the original, but that is sure enough the Burning Attack. Wow, this is the Goku that his mother admired, that's for sure. Such a fast learner. After showing Trunks that he could do it, the gang set about searching the rubble for the last ball, and indeed, they find it. That's all 7 balls, and they can make the wish now. However, Pilaf has not sat idle. He found out that that ball was stolen. Using his bigger dragon radar, he's located these no-good brats whom had taken what was his and proceeds to attack with all of his robotic might, which does nothing. Goku and Trunks perform the burning attack together, and it causes the Pilaf machine to explode before he's even done with the exposition. Goku is exhausted and collapses to the ground, but Trunks is oddly proud of the young boy. Trunks gives him the thumbs up and Goku returns it, albeit wearily. Trunks is sure that he'll learn the Kamehameha eventually. Hopefully. The time has come for the group to make the wish on the Dragon Balls. The dragon is summoned, and the group are in awe of the dragon, as is Trunks. He's never seen the dragon up close before, but then something dawns on him. No, he has to go back. He's been here too long. He can't influence this wish, or else this might warp the future more than he's already done. As Bulma makes her wish for a lifetime supply of strawberries, much to Yamcha's shock, I mean, why not money? Trunks slips away, but Goku spots him and asks where he's going. Trunks then remembers something. He slips out the heart medicine from his inside pocket and gives it to Goku. Keep a hold of this for me. This will make you feel better should your heart feel funny. He does some mental arithmetic. 17 years from now, you'll thank me. It was good to see you, Goku. Until we meet again. Trunks flies away and tries not to look back. Goku just stands there looking up at the sky and into the heart vial. He then pockets it and promises himself that he will take care of it. By the time Bulma spins around and realizes Trunks isn't there, Trunks is long gone. She is distraught. Why did he leave her all alone like this? How could her perfect boyfriend abandon her like that? Yamcha uses this moment to try and conquer his fear of girls and comforts the young engineer. Trunks can almost sense Bulma's mixture of anger and sadness, but he has to get home. He arrives at the time machine, which has fortunately been untouched, and heads for home. You know what? Trunks' mission turned out to be a bit of a success. I wonder if this will make a difference. Now alone, Trunks can take stock on what has happened to him over the last couple of weeks. He had the most fun in his life and was able to relish the Earth as it was meant to be. A calm, tranquil, and most importantly, safe place to be. He could just stay there. The thought did cross his mind, of course it would have done, when he was heading back to his time machine. He would be able to stop any menace coming for decades, be a true hero. Yeah, that sounds cool. But in reality, it would all be a facade. Yeah, he'd be a hero there, but in the future, he may as well be a coward. He would have run away from the fight against 17 and 18. He would have left his mother alone and vulnerable to their advances. He couldn't do that to his mother. That was the only thing he had left, ever since Mr. Gohan was felled. With a somber heart, he enters the time machine and double-checks the coordinates and systems so as to make sure he had a safe return to the future. He had technically done part of his mission. He had given Goku the medication, not telling him what it was for, but when to take it, so it wasn't a total loss. His mother could fix the machine, fill it up, and then try again. Also, he could see whether the things he had done in the past had had a knock-on effect or not, to just confirm things. One thing's for sure, he would be able to prove how time worked. With the final details checked, he activated the time machine, and it spooled into life. He takes one last look down at Mount Paozu beneath him. Even if this all fails, I'm glad to have seen the world at peace. Somewhere. Trunks is streaming through the temporal gateway and looking around at the fantastical colours on display. He hadn't realised the last time, on his way to the past, that he was the first human to have ever seen this part of reality. It was amazing. Nothing he had ever seen before could come close to how unusual this was. He looks down at his instruments on the time machine, and sure enough, he is going forward in time. So, okay then. He is heading in the right direction. He wasn't going even further into the past. He had seemingly managed to fix it. And when the machine exits the gateway, he emerges above the ocean, on Earth. It's hard to say where he is on Earth exactly, but this must be maybe one of the few places that the androids hadn't bothered going to. I mean, to be fair, it was just ocean. It was too out of the way for them. Good. He'd been able to slip back undetected. He then comes to rest on a small island and pockets the time machine in a capsule. He could fly home from here. He checked his watch to confirm, and he was indeed just a couple of 100 miles from West City. Not too far. He could just head back home in a couple of hours. But he needn't to worry about them, or their destruction. He had something else to worry about. Not long after he started to fly back, he realized something. He could sense tons of people nearby. Millions. That was weird. It was a rarity to see that many people gathered so tightly. They would be sitting ducks if the androids found them. Then he checks his watch to see where he is. Near Papaya Island. Okay, let's go check it out. Maybe he could get them to disperse to save them from a potential ambush. He could maybe do some good on the way back. When he lands, he is met with not scared people, but smiling, happy people. This is even weirder. Why are they acting so carefree? There are androids around, remember? He accosts a couple of people, and to them, he appears as a raving lunatic on about some robots or something. Clearly, he was trying to start the party a little early, and so he was promptly ignored. That is until a certain someone shows up.
No way! Trunks? Is that you?
Trunks stands still, shocked. Who would know his name other than the androids or his mother? That voice didn't sound like any of them. He turns around slowly and then spots a young adult. Someone around his age. But that hair though, it can't be. Goku? Goku laughs and is pleased to see that the future man remembered his name. He gives Trunks a bear hug and is misty-eyed with excitement.
Cool! You came to see me fight! That's so awesome of you, buddy! I've gotten way stronger since we last met, and don't worry!
He pulls out the medication that he had kept around his neck ever since they actually met last time like a pendant.
I've been keeping this safe like you told me to.
Trunks is sort of touched by this. He had treated it like a memento, like he had done with the 4-star Dragon Ball about his grandpa. Wow. He then snaps out of this feeling of being idolized, remembering where he actually was, and that he really was not supposed to be here. He's got to think of something fast. Hey, Goku, is Bulma here? Goku thinks for a moment and believes that she should be here. They were planning it.
Well, I can't tell since her energy's not that big, but Master Roshi and Krillin are here, I know that. I might have to go say hi to them. Hey, you want to come with me? They have no idea I'm here. It'll be cool to actually surprise them with both of us. It'll be so cool to see their faces about how tall I got. It's gonna be fun.
Goku, I need you to not tell them that I'm here. The fighter looks confused, so the future boy has to get closer and emphasize his quandary. My time machine is still busted. I was supposed to go back to my own timeline, but instead, I seemingly have only gone a little bit forward. What year is this, by the way?
I don't know. I didn't really check. Kami doesn't really have a calendar.
Trunks looked to his watch. Has it had time to recalibrate to the timeline? Fortunately, it had. Age 756. He'd only gone forward 6 years. He was 8 years too early for his planned rendezvous, and still 24 years from his original home. He was getting tired of this blasted machine failing him. Dang it!
Are you sure you don't want to meet the others? Bulma's really missed you, you know. We all have. We could have done with your help against King Piccolo. Well, that's a story and a half. You would have been able to knock him out in 2 seconds flat.
Goku laughs in retrospect, trying to ease the tension he can feel generating. Trunks tries to push the compliment back. If I had, you wouldn't have gotten the strength to beat him yourself. That's what you were destined to do, Goku. I'd have only gotten in the way. Goku thinks for a while, and Trunks may have actually been right. It would have actually been really boring if he didn't get a chance to fight at all. However, all this chit-chat had caused something to happen.
You!
A shrill voice cut through the scene. Trunks stops, and without even needing to turn around, knew who exactly was speaking. Mom? He had to turn around now, and when he did, he spotted Oolong, Roshi, and an aged-up Bulma staring back at him. She looked both stunned and livid.
What are you doing here?
She gets right up in Trunks' face and eyes him up and down.
And you haven't even aged a day since you dumped me. How could you be so cruel?
Dumped you? We weren't dating. Trunks splutters in response, but it was no use. Bulma was angry and frustrated for many reasons. Roshi, throughout all of Bulma's raving, to which Trunks just letting happen, is taking this all in. This goody-goody boy had indeed come back. Instead of being indifferent though, he was intrigued. This time this boy felt different. This boy was holding power back, and it was a lot of power. He hadn't noticed this before, but right now, there's something interesting. Young man! The bickering stops. Yeah?
Don't talk to him, old man. He's only going to abandon us again, or get even younger to spite me.
Quit your whining, girl. This is quite the interesting development. Roshi walks up to Trunks and pokes him with his cane. How much power are you holding back, kid? Trunks is surprised. Could the old man read his true energy? No, of course not. Roshi scowls. Don't you lie to me. I've been around a long time. I can smell the scent of a liar, as well as recognize when one is hiding something. Something big. As Trunks is being interrogated by Bulma and now Roshi,
The rain comes in, and then the rest of the Dragon team arrive, with Yamcha spotting Trunks being berated by his own now girlfriend. Oh man, he thought he was rid of that guy once and for all. Now he was back and maybe trying to steal his girl? Hey! He shouts, trying to act all cool, and fortunately for him, Bulma is keen to aid in his mission.
Hi, babe.
She acts all submissively, excessively so, and then gives Yamcha a peck on the cheek, with a cute expression, which is then tinged with a hint of venom back at Trunks.
I know you would never abandon me. A woman of my age needs a man who's always around to support them and love them unconditionally.
She winks at her boyfriend. Yamcha's a little nervous. It's a little bit excessive, but okay. Trunks has no time for this. He turns back to Roshi and nods. I can't lie to you anymore, sir. Yes, I am holding back something, but I can't say what it is. Not yet. Roshi nods. I see. I was right. Goku then comes to his hero's aid.
He can't, Master Roshi. He's from the future. If he tells us, we'll all be scrambled and stuff. It's too risky.
Phew! Trunks has got, ironically, some time for things to calm down. Roshi then asks Trunks if he's going to take part in the tournament, if he's strong and all. He could be a good yardstick for Goku, in fact, to maybe see the fruits of his training with the Guardian of Earth, see what that's cracked up to be. Unfortunately for Roshi, Trunks declines, and says that he is not here to cause more trouble in this timeline. I need to stay out of trouble. If certain things happen differently to what they do in the future, then things might not work out the way they're supposed to. Bulma is getting tired of all his excuses. She demands that he take part, to say that he's sorry, and also for him to stick around and show off some moves, because despite him abandoning them all, she still found him pretty hot. But it was now a little bit weird because she was older than him now. Ugh, she's thinking time sucks. And so we get the draws, with Chaozu fudging it so the Dragon team don't meet each other until the finals, which means we see Mercenary Tao falling out of the preliminaries after Tenshinhan bested him. Basically, that fight between them happened earlier in the timeline. As that's going on, Trunks spots a green-skinned person. That must be Piccolo, a much younger Piccolo though this time around. Gone was the kind of face he remembered from pictures and what he was told by Gohan. This was nothing like that Piccolo. This Piccolo was much more cruel looking and impulsive. We then go through the matches and, fortunately for Trunks, Goku and Chi-Chi's battle occurs, and their courting goes off without a hitch. Good. At least that thing still occurs, and at least now the initial steps towards Gohan being born are now in effect. Trunks meets Tenshinhan in the tournament, and the battle goes quite evenly until Tenshinhan asks Trunks to get serious, to which the young man does. With a couple of kicks and punches plus some light ki attacks, Tenshinhan is thrown out. Trunks thanks him for the battle, to which the warrior agrees, and asks him to train with him sometime. I could use some of your skills in the future against Goku. That thing I will still continue. Speaking of, the way the rounds work, we get Goku versus Trunks. This battle is very frenetic, and Goku's excited to see what Roshi was talking about, and Trunks is actually starting to get a little bit excited himself to fight the legendary Goku, in his prime in fact. This was clouding the young man's judgment. The Saiyan in him was bubbling up to the surface. The power increases, and with Goku on the back foot, Trunks decides now is the time to show some more of his strength. Letting back some of his power, Trunks gets into position and descends into a flurry of blows before then unleashing the Burning Attack. Goku sees this and charges up his own Burning Attack, showing that he had perfected the technique himself. Trunks didn't want to go too far though, but Goku was stronger here than he'd ever anticipated, and he actually was stronger than in the timeline. But it required a little more effort. He thought about letting Goku win perhaps, but then he remembered something that Gohan had actually taught him years ago. Gohan had learned that from his father. Always have someone stronger than you to go up against. It means you keep training and you remain humble. So that's exactly what Trunks does. He lets go of some more power and it ends up with Goku losing the round, which then means Trunks goes to the final against Piccolo Jr. Goku isn't too upset about this. In fact, he's delighted. His idol was even more powerful than he thought, and now he would endeavor to get even stronger.
Thanks, Trunks. Now I've got to train even harder. I can't wait to fight you again.
Trunks chuckles, but then realizes what he's done. He had messed up the timelines again, and now he had to go up against Piccolo Jr. Would that mess things up even more? Maybe, maybe not. He did some thinking though. According to anecdotes, Goku and Piccolo ended in a tie, with Goku promising to get stronger against Piccolo. Now technically, Trunks had already sort of made that happen, albeit with him instead of the Namekian. He was still in control of this timeline. He could make this work. When it comes to the fight with Piccolo, the demon is looking keen to show what he is made of, but Trunks is also keen to scare the demon into submission, so that means he doesn't hurt a single soul. I hope you're ready to realize how big a mistake it is to try and threaten this world. Piccolo balks at this. What? What are you talking about? I'm here to fight you, although I'd honestly rather it be Goku than you. I know why you're here. To get revenge on your father. What? How do you know about my father? Screams Piccolo. Trunks cocks his head and sparks golden. I know a lot of things. He goes Super Saiyan. But wait, Masako, why would he be so reckless? Well, he's got a theory developing. Remember, he's the son of Bulma. He's quite smart. Both he and future Bulma were not really sure how time travel worked, but assumed the basics from all of this, and it did technically work, but they got inspiration from those science fiction comics that the boy loved to read as a kid. They ascertained, or more like guessed, that if you made a change to something that was really big, or even really small, you would change something, or more accurately, your memories would change. And also another thing, if Trunks' future had been changed for the better, or whatever, the need for a time machine would no longer exist. And even he might no longer exist, or at least not as he knew himself. Everything would change, but it just felt odd. There would also be another factor. He would cease to be here, in the past, but he was still here, and in full possession of his original memories. He clearly hadn't changed his timeline at all, but he had obviously changed this timeline. For the better, he hoped, and hoped it would carry on that way. Regardless, the sight of Trunks' hair going golden is enough to shake the core of every member of the Dragon team present, as well as the energy output, despite Trunks holding back, mostly. Trunks' power was just... words couldn't describe it in Goku's eyes. Bulma, however, cannot sense energy and is confused why everybody is so scared. But what she could see is her former crush, all bulked up, glowing with an unearthly aura, ethereal almost, with blonde hair. Hello, Blondie, she slurred with lust, to which Yamcha is fortunately too distracted to notice because, well, the same reason as Goku and everyone else in the Dragon team and the Turtle School. How could you have held back so much power? It's not possible! I've been through a lot. I gather that you plan to enact the same feelings on my friends over there. I'm gonna see to it that you don't do that. Trunks is holding back most of his Super Saiyan power, like I said, because if he didn't, Piccolo would have been completely eviscerated in a second. However, he did rush forward faster than blinking still and land a gut punch to Piccolo, which catches him completely off guard. Nobody saw it either, but they tasted it. The green man is coughing and spluttering with pain and horror from just one blow. What was that? That was a warning. The Piccolo I heard about was a much more noble warrior than you are. From what my master told me, you are an incredibly smart and sage teacher, as well as a true protector of this world. Like I would believe that. Time travel? That's just make-believe. Fit for children's fairy tales. Even if you are as strong, that doesn't mean I can do nothing. Even if you are as strong, that doesn't mean I can do nothing about it. What? Piccolo then fires a mouth blast into the direction of the Dragon team. If he can't hurt Trunks, he could hurt everyone else, especially Goku. Trunks doesn't react to any of this, but calmly glides into the path of the blast and, just takes it. The explosion upon impact is enough to blow a huge chunk of the arena out of existence, and when the dust clears, Trunks re-emerged, with barely a scratch on him or his clothes. Piccolo is now starting to panic. What the? This is not make-believe, Piccolo. I'm telling you the truth. He flies forward and lands a flurry of blows on Piccolo's frame, and this causes the Namekian to collapse to the floor, almost unconscious. And the truth hurts. The announcer is left flummoxed at the events before him, but he still declares Trunks to be the winner after he can muster words to come out of his mouth. The young man is now actually taken out of the scenario, out of his daze of power, and powers back to his base form, the golden hair disappearing, realizing that he'd only just gone and won the tournament, and quite possibly saved a lot of people from getting hurt. Goku rushes forward and embraces his idol and congratulates him for winning over such a very mean guy. Don't be so quick to act, Goku. You know how I'm not from this time. Piccolo's still got an important role for you going forward. You've gotta let him go.
Well, of course I will. I wanted to fight him myself. I could tell that his power was equal to mine in many ways. I may not have gotten to spar with him today, But tomorrow, that's a whole other matter.
Okay, good. Trunks can tell that his actions hadn't deterred Goku's reasoning for letting the Namekian go. That was still intact. When Piccolo then comes to, thanks to a handy senzu from Goku, he then shoots everyone a nasty look. I know I'm stronger than all of you around. Once your little guardian angel has left for his own time, I will return. When the odds are much more in my favor. He turns to Trunks. If you think I'll change my ways just because of what you told me, you're sorely mistaken. There is no way what you say will happen. I will make sure of it. Without another word, he flies away, not to be seen for years. Trunks has confidence that he will toe the line when the time comes for him to do so, him not having to be here to babysit the others. I'm afraid this is where we must part company, Goku. For real this time. I have to get back to my timeline and report back to my mom. It's been a blast, though.
Wait, you can't go now. You gotta teach me how to do that, Trunks. Oh, I want that power so badly. It was awesome. Can the others learn it too?
Krillin wants to learn it as well. Yeah, I may not have hair to go gold like you did and stuff, but the power boost seems rather neat. Trunks laughs nervously. There's more to this power than just to look cool, guys. Bulma then interjects, lowering the tone a little from all of this praise, bringing Trunks right back down to earth.
Okay, mister. I've seen a lot of weird things in my time, but this takes the cake.
She jams a finger in Trunks' chest.
Fess up! Where do you come from, really?
Goku then tries to warn Bulma that asking this question could be really dangerous. It could blow up the very fabric of space-time.
What?
It's alright, Goku. I think it's time I explain myself. Bulma, you're right. I'm not from around here. I'm from a different dimension of reality, you guys. Time to be specific. Bulma, instead of dismissing this like Piccolo, is a lady of science. She wants to know more. Now, after hearing the initial premise of how Trunks got here to the past, without, of course, the fact that she was his mother from another time, I mean, that was just too embarrassing to reveal right now, the engineer is very curious to hear and see the fruits of the future's labor in regards to this venture.
You've got my attention. Let's talk about it over in my place, away from the crowd. Tomorrow, be there.
She prods him in the chest again, and then gives him a very sultry look, which Yamcha does notice. Do you mind if I come too? I want to learn about this too. You know, science, time, wibbly-wobbly stuff.
Since when did you care about that stuff? You always fall asleep whenever I explain it.
I'm not asleep. I'm just deep in thought. No, totally not. The two of them then walk off bickering amongst themselves, and Trunks is left wondering whether it might have actually been the right idea to tell her about the fact that she was his mother. It would certainly make things less awkward.
Wow, time travel. So cool. Mind if we could train a little bit, Trunks? I want to learn more myself.
Goku, you've got someone to marry, remember? He points over to Chi-Chi in the distance, which reminds Goku.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Thanks, buddy.
The next day, Trunks arrives at Capsule Corp like he promised to, and is greeted by Bulma. He doesn't like what he sees. She is wearing rather too short shorts for being an engineer, and a tank top which again was a little on the small side. He frantically averts his gaze, wishing that the engineer's overalls that were wrapped around her waist were actually being used for their intended purpose. Jeez, Mom. Trunks then spends the rest of the trip to the laboratory conjuring up excuses to look anywhere other than at Bulma. Like, hey, you have really, cool wall-mounted fan ducts. Yeah.
I guess? Is this the future's idea of breaking the ice? I don't get it. I feel old already.
When they get to the laboratory, Trunks is more than happy to talk to Yamcha before presenting the capsule containing the time machine. When it emerges from its housing with the trademark "Boy," Bulma is completely taken out of her mission to tempt Trunks and is bowled over with the sight of the Capsule Corp logo all over this feat of technological brilliance.
To think that this was possible and we did it! Can I go inside?
Sure?
Can you give me a lift up? I promise I'm not heavy and all.
Trunks is stammering a response before Yamcha presents a ladder that had been on the wall. Here, this will do just fine, honey.
Fine.
She stomps up the ladder, with Trunks flying up the opposite side to meet her at the canopy, which then hisses open. After about 10 minutes or so, Bulma gets the basics of the craft down, and then stumbles upon the logbook, which makes her day. Her future self had tucked away that for Trunks to refer to in case of any troubles. Basically, it's the time machine's manual.
Hey, wait, this is my writing. Does this mean that I'm still around in the future despite all the chaos that you said?
Yeah,
You managed to create the time machine to go back into the past and right the wrongs committed.
Yamcha then butts in, asking if telling them this will actually create a time paradox.
I thought the same thing, but apparently that doesn't seem to be the case. If that were true, I'd have disappeared as soon as I interfered with you guys. It seems like multiverse theory is the case in this reality. I've changed this timeline, but my own, still the same. Nothing's changed, sadly.
Bulma hadn't really been paying attention, still reading the manual with the utmost enthusiasm.
Wow, I'm still just as smart in my old age.
Trunks is equally not paying attention to what he says.
Yeah, Mom's a real whiz at that stuff.
Trunks then realizes what he said.
Wait, Mom? This is my writing. Does this mean that you're...
She points at herself and then at Trunks. She then screams, externally. After she had gotten over the shock and put her overalls firmly on, having experienced utter embarrassment for all of the years of crushing on her son, she then regains her scientific composure.
I'm sorry, I didn't know how time worked back then. I was worried if I told you I might not have been born or something.
Well, who's the father? Come on, tell me.
I don't know. You never told me.
Is that another lie or something?
Yamcha then butts in.
Hey, come on, Bulma, cut him some slack. It might be me. Trunks here just doesn't want to cause any further trouble or something. Do you, sonny boy?
Oh, Yamcha, you couldn't be any more wrong. When he had been able to divert the subject away from the origins of his parents' identity, Bulma then realizes that the craft has a little bit of a problem with it.
The tank's out of juice.
Trunks flies back and reads the gauge. Yep, it's empty.
What? How? I had enough fuel to get... Oh.
He realized that the ship only had enough fuel for 2 trips, one round one, and since he had made one jump back and then one slightly forward, yeah, he spent the tank. He was stuck here.
But how can Mom protect herself? I'm not there to help. They're helpless. Those monsters will kill them. It's all my fault. I failed.
Trunks then slams the desk he was sat by and starts to cry, having felt like a total failure. Bulma then spots the book that her future self had written and tosses it into Trunks' lap.
Don't give up hope yet, kiddo.
Her attitude towards him had changed completely. Instead of being the girl who crushed on him, flirting with him, her demeanor had become more like the competent and always resourceful maternal figure. She actually really surprised herself with this. Was this inside of her all along?
Your mom's still here with you, in this book. All our notes are in here, and we can try and make up some gas perhaps for you to return home. It may not be easy, but it can't hurt to give it a go. I'm not gonna back down from a challenge like this.
Trunks looked stunned at Bulma, but it made sense. Despite the age gap between this Bulma and his Bulma, it was still the same person, the same brilliant intellect.
All right, Mom. Let's do it.
They fist bump in solidarity, Yamcha looking very relieved with the fact that Trunks was no longer a threat to his relationship. Well, I mean, I guess, Yamcha, you're half right. With this information being passed from the tome, Bulma begins to realize the gravity of this task. A lot of the resources in this book are actually really hard to come by, even in the most prosperous time of today. Either the materials were rare, expensive, both, or just flat out didn't exist yet.
We're gonna have to answer a lot of weird questions from the board, but I think it's possible. It'll just take a while.
How long do you reckon?
Months, huh?
Yeah, that seems about right. Mom did say that it would usually take 8 months or so to refuel the machine.
At best, kid. We could be looking at years since some of these ingredients are not available through, legitimate means.
Oh.
You better get yourself comfortable here, kid. I mean, I can prepare some living quarters for you if you want to crash here. And tell you what, free of charge. Not only are you family after all, I think, but this book and your brain have probably cemented this company's place in history.
She gives him a hug, but this hug was different from the previous ones. Much less awkward, thank Hippel for that. As time wore on, Trunks felt that it was only right to occupy his time with something. And since he didn't have to worry about work or making money with board at Capture Corp for free, nor did he actually have to worry about paradoxes, at least not right now, Chronoa wants to know your location, he could then perhaps train up Goku and the others. After all, Goku had been pestering him for ages despite the fact that his now wife was pregnant with what would then become Gohan. It meant that the guy was more present with the Dragon Team, Goku, and so therefore people would know that he was about to have a kid instead of it being a surprise like in the original. As for Super Saiyan, well, baby steps. That would take time. For starters, with Trunks not really worrying too much about breaking the laws of time, you'll regret that soon enough, he divulged the revelation to Goku that he was a Saiyan from another world, and that he himself was sired by a Saiyan.
Does that mean that my kid could get this power too?
Well, it's possible, yeah.
Will they become as evil as those Saiyans you mentioned though?
Not at all, Goku. You're a good person. I'm sure that he won't.
Does Trunks tell him about the androids? Not quite yet. First, there needs to be a more realistic yardstick, a closer one. Raditz. Trunks did sometimes think, though, when he was in his bed, that maybe he should probably lay off spilling the beans about the future. You know, he was lucky that nothing had changed, but was there a certain threshold to be had before then everything would go to pot? He was doing everything that his mother had told him not to do, but somehow this didn't matter to him. He felt good about this, and confident that none of this will affect his future or come back to bite him whatsoever. Throughout the 5 years before Raditz would show up, a common sight would make itself known in the valleys of Mount Paozu. Trunks and Goku would be training together and enjoying every second of it. Trunks got to enjoy it to be able to train with Goku and get to know him, and Goku enjoyed it because Trunks was strong and was his hero. A pregnant Chi-Chi and interested Ox King would watch the two of them go about their sparring, and the wife of Goku didn't really mind all of this too much. She and her father could very much tell that this Trunks boy, he was a good egg. He was very polite, courteous, and very keen to help with tidying things up after training was done, as well as preparing dinner. Trunks and Chi-Chi would do the dishes as Goku slept off the big meal, and the future boy would get a good insight into how Goku was as a person, and not just a legendary fighter. The fact that he would even help her without question being a good boy is something that eased the notion that Goku was on a dead-end path in life. Chi-Chi liked Trunks, and also, the idea that he died in the future Goku was something that put the wind up Chi-Chi's sails, and thusly she made sure that there was little conflict as possible between the two of them. Not necessarily letting him get away with everything that he would do, but at least being more aware of Goku as a person, instead of Chi-Chi trying to lambast him, shoehorning him into a role that he couldn't possibly live up to. Seriously, Chi-Chi here is a lot more chill. When Gohan then arrived, Trunks was very keen to play with him and ensure that he was kept safe from anything that dared harm him, and on occasion have him watch he and his father training as he played with his toys, exposing him to the world of martial arts. When it came down to the matter of education though, Trunks didn't get in the way of Chi-Chi's vision for her son, but at least got her to figure out and see for herself that his potential was incredible.
It's about striking a balance, Chi-Chi. Gohan in my time, he was a remarkable hero and saved thousands of lives thanks to his power as well as intellect.
You mean my boy will grow up to be a hero? A smart hero?
Trunks nods, and this gets the idea into her head that maybe there could be some sort of equilibrium between scholarship and martial arts after all. There was a nagging voice in the back of Trunks' head telling him that he's doing way too much finagling with the past than was necessary. Right now, he was essentially letting the past copy his notes and not allowing them to make their own mistakes, their own destinies, choose their own paths. In times like those, he would try and tell his own consciousness that, oh, he's just trying to protect the future? But was he though? He wasn't protecting it really. He was just changing it into something else, ultimately. Something he wouldn't recognize. And then what? Despite this feeling of uncertainty, Trunks remained determined and remained in the past for the full 5 years, informing Goku about his brother arriving on the planet and increasing their training over that period. Piccolo would watch from afar and curse the boy's impertinence. He had gotten away far too often, and for now, it was best to train harder than ever in case he slipped up or suddenly disappeared, or the opportunity arose to do something dangerous. Krillin joined the party as he was curious to see how Trunks would develop and what his deal was about. Even Yamcha decided to step in and train, as he too was keen to mend the bridges between the pair of them, Trunks and Yamcha, now that he wasn't a threat to he and Bulma's relationship. I mean, yeah, he still doesn't know the true identity of Trunks' father though, and for now, it was best to keep it that way. When the time came and Raditz showed up on Earth, the situation was far more organized. The pod crash landed on the land of the infamous father, and the brother of Goku stepped out to see not animals or an irate agriculturalist, but 4 men. 4 martial artists. That's right, the farmer shall live! Raditz hadn't yet checked his scouter, but he looked interested with this greeting party.
Well, well, I didn't expect this planet to be having such efficient tech to be able to track my pod. And, yes, Kakarot! I would recognize your hair anywhere!
Raditz stepped forward to shake his brother's hand, but the hand never presented itself.
What's the matter? Don't you recognize your own brother?
Thinking that this would jog memories, Raditz prepared himself for seeing Kakarot look utterly bewildered and pleased to see him. But again, that never happened.
What's going on? Why aren't you all blown away with these revelations? Don't tell me that you are simple as well as incompetent. This planet should have been turned to dust by your hand, ready for Lord Frieza's propagation. What's going on here, Kakarot?
He was getting extremely nervous now with all this silence and posturing. But eventually, though, Goku did step forward and speak. I know who you are. You're Raditz, my brother supposedly. A Saiyan. Goku said this coolly, and Raditz looked surprised this time, not his brother. How did he know all of this? His pod that he had when he was a baby wasn't equipped with all of this intel. It was rushed out of the scene really quickly. And as Raditz is being countered left, right, and center with all of this intel, Piccolo is surveying the situation, realizing that he doesn't need to step in, but he's trying to come up with a plan all the same. But then it hits him. In his mind, he realizes what he can do. All of these bozos are distracted with this Saiyan and are keen to just talk to him. But the boy, Goku's boy, he's unprotected. He could kidnap the runt and perhaps use him as bargaining to get back at Trunks for daring to get in his way. In time, the boy maybe could become Piccolo's servant. And better still, the hero said that Gohan was meant for great things, so he was valuable. He could use that power to his own advantage. With his plan in motion, he suppressed his energy and quietly flew off to Goku's place to wait for the moment to pounce, which would come. As Piccolo flies off to Mount Palzu, Raditz is all the more confused with this confrontation.
You mean to tell me that you know about me entirely, the mighty Raditz, and yet you still do not cower in my presence?
Trunks steps forward, and his look is utterly piercing.
It's you who should be cowering. Get off our planet, now!
Raditz then looked at the boy. Well, I mean, I'd say boy, it's been 5 years now. He's in his early 20s, but suddenly, his look turned to shock. That boy's face, there was no doubt about it. It looked like
Vegeta!
On a distant planet, this got a certain prince's attention. Nappa was in the middle of loudly going on about what their next adventure would be, but the shorter Saiyan motions for him to shut up.
Wait, Nappa! Cease your jabbering! Raditz said my name. Why would he do so?
3 of the 4 defenders of Earth thought nothing about this name. It meant nothing to them, but Trunks was steadfast.
But your face! It looks just like... How is that possible? Shut up! I'm going to say this only one more time. Get out of here, or else we will all kill you. But don't you believe us?
He points to his ear. Check your scouter. Raditz does so, and it's not good. The short one has a power at 2,000. The dude had 1,900. Kakarot's was
3,000, and the boy's was
5.
5? Are you for real? Your power level is only 5. How could you be so brash with such a meager power?
But Trunks isn't deterred. He smiles again and cracks his neck in readiness. Because I'm not gonna be the one to wipe the floor with your sorry hide. With that, Goku, Krillin, and Yamcha rush Raditz and beat him to a pulp. Out in space, Vegeta is blown away with what's happening and the powers that were registered. This boy, who reminded Raditz of Vegeta, somehow, had managed to find Earthlings with that kind of power and were now proceeding to deck Raditz in the schnoz? Interesting.
Nappa, I think we've stumbled upon our next source of entertainment. Do you fancy checking it out?
Nappa was ready for anything, so of course he would say yes. As Raditz laid there, battered and bruised, Trunks motioned for his friends to stop. It was clear that Raditz wasn't going to fight back. Trunks didn't know what come over him. In this moment, having all of this knowledge, being able to help in this manner was empowering. He had spent his whole life in the shadow of the androids, but here, he felt like a god. There was a part of him which cried out for him to stop this, stop interfering with the past like this, but he kept reminding himself that, in turn, This timeline meant nothing to his own. He could do what he wants. He could quit any time, once he had the fuel to go back into the future, right? Besides, he'd trained him more himself, and when he did return, he would be helping out his future. He would waste those androids in seconds. What's the problem? He had changed, but actually, not in a good way. Power corrupts.
Tell you what, to your friends who are listening, bring it on.
Goku was stunned at this bravado. I mean, sure, it was kind of cool to see, but Trunks was acting differently to the person that he remembered as a child. So kind, considerate, careful. This wasn't right. Raditz was absolutely scared out of his mind with all the energy that he could muster. He clambered back into the Saiyan pod and hightailed it out of there, but he said this before he left.
I'll be back, you miserable wretches!
Trunks knew that that would happen, but he didn't care. And Vegeta, he was laughing to himself.
Oh, these weaklings have so much gusto. I love it! This is indeed going to be fun. Let's go pick up our dog's body and head on over, shall we, Nappa?
With that, the Saiyans will arrive in 1 year. Okay, maybe just over a year to pick up their friend. As the pod disappeared from view, the gang breathed a sigh of relief. After all of that time training, it had proved to be worth it. Trunks' prediction was correct, and now they were stronger than ever.
Don't be so sure, guys. There's more to come. That Raditz was just a start. He's got 2 more Saiyans interested in what we just did, and, well, they're stronger.
The gang looked utterly terrified.
You knew that would happen? Why did you let him get away then? I had my reasons, but needless to say, I can help you get even stronger to stop them. And trust me, you're gonna like it.
Krillin and Yamcha feel slightly relieved about this, feeling more confident in Trunks' words, but Goku was still worried with his hero's change in demeanor and outlook, and that would be even more apparent when they got to his home. Instead of being greeted with a big meal and a hug from his wife, Chi-Chi and Ox King were in hysterics. Gohan had gone. He'd been abducted while he was studying, apparently. His window was left wide open. Why would he go out like that? Goku rushed in to see signs of a struggle, but it wasn't a major one. Gohan had been able to fight back a little bit before being taken. Goku got suspicious and took Trunks aside, but Trunks already knew what he was going to say.
Did you know about this too? That Gohan will be taken?
Answer me, Trunks!
Yeah, then why didn't you tell us?
Krillin could have stayed here and guarded Gohan!
Because of you, my son's missing! Did your future have this happen? Or did you let it happen?
Trunks then got a real slap in the face.
No, it didn't happen like that, no.
Piccolo took him, but
what? Why would he take him?
Goku, listen. Gohan was taken by Piccolo, but for different reasons. You see?
He then proceeds to explain the events of the original Raditz encounter from what he could remember to his new friend. In that, Goku had died with his brother when Gohan had shown remarkable bursts of power, and Piccolo then took him in to train him up, ready for when the Saiyans would arrive. He was preparing Gohan.
That year training changed Piccolo for the better, as he realized what Gohan could do, and how much of a nice person he was. He could see the good in him, and that was good for Piccolo. He was also helping us in training him up ready for the Saiyans when they came back. But now I fear that he's got other intentions in mind. I've got to find him and explain.
No, says Goku sternly. I will go find him. You've done enough damage for one day. Without flinching, Goku jumps out of the bedroom window, calls out for Nimbus, and sets out on his own for finding Gohan. Trunks is left utterly sickened with himself. He'd blown it this time. Because of his actions, getting all cocky. Remind you of anyone? He had managed to save Goku's life, yeah, but Gohan's path, the person he admired the most, was changed. We continue just after Goku had left on Nimbus in search for his son. The Saiyan, who had looked up to Trunks for years since he was a young boy, saw nothing but a power-hungry and selfish man now. What he thought was admirable was gone. This Trunks had gotten ideas above his station. Because of his lust for dominance, Gohan had been taken from him, and there was no clue as to where he had gone. Chi-Chi, who had spent time outside venting her lament with Ox King, unaware of the conversation that had been taking place, came in to check on the two, to see Goku gone, and Trunks holding back tears.
Trunks? Are you alright? Where's Goku?
He's gone to find Gohan. Piccolo took him.
Chi-Chi's eyes widened.
Piccolo? Why didn't you go and help Goku? Surely he would need you.
He doesn't. He told me to stay here anyway. Chi-Chi, I did something terrible.
Chi-Chi's face then softened a little, wrongly assuming that Trunks was just beating himself up over this.
Trunks, this isn't your fault. You weren't to know that that demon would do something so devious. You saved us so many times from that evil brother of Goku's as well. Come join us. We could all do with some comfort right now. There's no use dwelling in solitude, right?
Trunks muttered a little bit, sort of at acknowledgement, and Chi-Chi left to rejoin the others, thinking Trunks would catch up. But Trunks wouldn't. He looked out of the window. What can he do to fix this? Either way, he couldn't bring himself to stay here anymore. Goku wouldn't want to see his face right now, or maybe ever again. Without further thought, Trunks flew out of the window and out of sight. But somebody did see him. Bulma, who had been brooding outside, spotted the young man flying away, and she was curious to see where he was going. She made her excuses and told Yamcha to come with her in case it was bad. She wanted to see what the future boy was up to.
But Bulma, aren't we needed here? What if there are more Saiyans coming? They could use our help.
Trust me, Trunks knows our future like a book. If he's going somewhere, it's with purpose. Now stop being a baby and come with.
Yamcha gulped, and the pair of them got in her ship and flew off in pursuit of Trunks. Where was he going? As that was happening, Goku was flying around on Nimbus so as to keep his power level down a fair bit, and he was desperately looking for any signs of Gohan's energy. He could sense Trunks flying off somewhere, but in a different direction, but after this initial acknowledgement, he paid no further mind to it since he was still mad at him, and continued his search. Suddenly, he felt something. Gohan had awoken, and he was not happy. His energy was flaring up a little bit, and that was enough for Goku to latch onto to give him some kind of a clue. Down with Piccolo and Gohan, the brat was crying, and Piccolo was being far less patient than he was in the original, and even then, he wasn't patient if you remember. He slapped the kid around a little bit and told him to shut up.
Listen up, Runt! Things are gonna change around here. That future boy said you were important or something. Well, I got news for you. He's got another thing coming. I'll make sure you become important on my terms, in my plan to take over this miserable world.
Where's my daddy?
He won't be finding us. When I'm through with you, he will be the one crying out for his daddy.
Gohan was absolutely beside himself with terror right now, which was the thing that Goku needed to find him. Good, Gohan. Don't worry, I'm coming! Goku headed off in the direction he sensed his son. Minutes later, Goku launched himself off of Nimbus and flew down to face his nemesis in a surprise attack and his son. Piccolo was surprised.
Goku! How did you find us?
Gohan, you did good. I could sense his energy as he was cowering from the likes of you. I'm gonna make you suffer for daring to hurt my son! Piccolo is trying to keep it together.
Where's your little bodyguard?
I don't need him to do what is necessary here. In fact, he's caused more trouble than he's worth.
Really? Piccolo's eyes flare. Took you long enough to understand that. It's a mistake to know your future. It makes things far less interesting. We should be allowed to forge our own destiny, not follow some pre-made instructions from a failed timeline. Nobody should tell us what to do.
Goku hated to admit it in the here and now, but this Piccolo had a point about. Was this part of his plan, though? To make him realize how Trunks was most likely dangerous? Well, not exactly. But Piccolo chose to go with this since he knew he couldn't face Goku one-on-one right now. In fact, this plan was even better. Get them to turn on Trunks, or at least make him go away and leave them alone so he can maybe catch up in his own time, Piccolo. But speaking of Trunks, he had arrived at his destination. This was the best thing he could do to ensure peace in this timeline, but in his mind, he was thinking, this would make it up to Goku, surely! He had landed at a small cliff face nearby North City. It was a forested area, mostly filled with craggy caves, big enough for certain laboratories. Up above, Bulma and Yamcha saw Trunks touch down and promptly landed themselves a distance away. That's odd. What's Trunks doing at Jiro's lab? Jiro? Said a quizzical Yamcha. Who's that? Dr. Jiro. He was a scientist my dad knew, but he went off the rails a while back and took to these backyard bases after the Red Ribbon Army collapsed.
Wait,
You mean to tell me that the Red Ribbon Army's still around?
Bulma shushes him.
Keep it down, genius. In any case, Trunks knows something about him that we don't. Does his future have something to do with the doctor or something?
They observe a little more and spot Trunks sinking closer and closer to the lab, trying not to be spotted too early. When he got to the door, though, subtlety went right out of it. He had thought about this one last time, though, before he decided to fire on it. If he removed Gero right now, his main reason for staying here in the past would be gone. The androids here would no longer exist. It was a bit of a ruthless way of going about things, but it was effective. Gero would be snuffed out. He powered up to Super Saiyan and decided to hell with it. He'd already caused enough strife. This was the only way he could redeem himself. He knew it! Timelines be damned!
Because besides, there weren't any consequences in his mind, so why would that change now?
Yamcha and Bulma cowered at the sight of this power. They hadn't seen Trunks go all out before at full power. He had never displayed this level of strength and energy because he didn't need to. Yamcha, he fell backwards and almost got knocked out with the level of ki that he could feel right there. Such a sudden shock of it. Behind the door, Gero had no idea with what he was about to face. He saw the door start to glow a hot white. Seconds later, it exploded in front of him, almost taking him out there and then, with the doors being blown backwards towards him. Trunks simply stood there and looked mad.
Gero! I know what you're planning! You and your androids need to be stopped! What? What are you talking about? Can't an old scientist tinker with his experiments in peace?
Trunks marched forward, unnerving the doctor.
Don't play dumb with me! I know what you've got there!
He points to the pods marked 17 and 18. Gero, instead of looking shocked, was actually really sickened.
I know exactly what I've got there. Complete and utter failures.
Huh? Failures? What do you mean?
Gero felt like he had no choice but to humor this intruder. A young man being able to blow down titanium doors like they were made out of paper. Yeah, that kid needs to be treated with gloves.
Those androids are no use to me. They do not listen to my instruction. They are rebellious teenagers with or without mechanical parts.
Trunks thought for a second. That actually sounded about right. 17 and 18 in his timeline were known for being chaotic and impulsive. But he quickly remembered why he was here.
I don't care. I know what they're capable of, and I cannot allow you to carry on your monstrous experiments.
Gero, trying to calm this kid down, looked sinisterly back at Trunks.
I have done nothing wrong. All I wish to do is better mankind with my inventions. Humanity, as it is right now, is a blotch on this world. I tried my best with the feckless Red Ribbon Army to realize my goal. In fact, make that goal open for them. But all they did with my inventions was use them to their own ridiculous stunts of global domination. It was almost a blessing in disguise that Son Goku got rid of them. But he turned away. It was too much of a price to pay.
He turned to the pod with a number 16 on it, and then back to Trunks.
It was not my fault that my inventions were used for evil. You've got the wrong end of the stick, young man. How can you possibly know what my intentions are and will be?
Trunks almost decided to humor Gero and tell him. He could see that the scientist was telling the truth. He hadn't used these androids yet. From what he could tell, they were shut down, not usable. He was acting rashly. He was maybe casting judgment on a crime that hadn't been committed yet. This actually set up a really interesting dichotomy. Was this the right thing to do? But then he thought about Goku. Goku, the little kid that looked up to him all those years ago. No, Trunks had to make it up to him. Trunks' addled mind got the better of him. He tensed up and fired, screaming into the light and rubble that exploded around him. Everything in that lab was destroyed. Well, possibly an exception with that little sub-lab, but Trunks didn't know about that. Back outside, Bulma and Yamcha could hear some words being exchanged, followed by explosions. What was Trunks doing? When the dust cleared, the top of the hill had been blown off, and all that was left were some tiles, some broken instruments, and Trunks, breathing heavily and letting out a mad laugh. Bulma had seen enough. Trunks! The man stopped laughing and saw Bulma coming towards him from the nearby cliff top. He looked horrified and ashamed. She'd seen everything. There's no use running away now. He flew up to her and Yamcha and looked defeated despite getting what he had wanted to do all those years ago. kill Jiro, and thusly stop the androids.
Trunks, she calmly said, gripping his arm. What happened there? Why were you at Jiro's lab? Does this have something to do with our future?
Trunks then figures that now was the time to come clean.
Yes, my timeline focuses squarely on Dr. Giro and his creations. He had created two beings of incredible and horrific strength. They wiped out my world, and the only ones to survive there were Gohan, myself, and you.
Yamcha asked if he'd survived. He hadn't. That made Yamcha think what Trunks just did was the right thing to do.
Well, quite right, dude. Good job in stopping that madman before he had the chance to do any harm.
Would you pipe down? Snapped Bulma.
This isn't like you, Trunks. You're usually so calm and methodical. That's what actually drew me to you all those years back. You've changed. What I saw just now was the work of...
She couldn't bring herself to say it, but Trunks knew what she was going to say. A madman. Trunks had made things worse, despite saving this world from Jiro and the androids. He'd lost his cool, and ultimately, his rationale. He turned away and flew off without another word. Bulma and Yamcha this time chose not to follow him. As Trunks got away from them both, he landed, composing himself, pulling out his capsule containing the time machine. It had been fueled up and ready to go for a while now, in case he wanted to head home, his work no longer being needed at one point. But his ego had ensured that that would never happen. But now with his ego being checked, he realized he had no choice but to go. He had basically alienated himself from Goku and Bulma, the first two friends he had made in this timeline. He could not face the shame of being here any longer. The time machine whirred into life, and he knew he had to go. As he flew back to the future, he thought about the last 5 years. In fact, more than that. It had been a wild ride, and he had gotten stronger. He could defeat the androids once he returned, but he was in no mood to act the hero right now. Lately, he had acted like a truly selfish idiot. But that would be the least of his problems. When he got back, he pocketed his time machine and made his way back to the remains of Capsule Corp, his home. At least the machine worked now. He had enough time to ensure that that would be the case in the past. When he got to his home, though, it turned out that there was an unexpected guest, not just his mother. Bulma greeted her son like you would expect, but it said that a young lady had arrived with pink hair and skin, asking for Trunks. She chose to wait, saying she had all the time in the world to see him. When Trunks chose to see her, the young lady's face, which had been quite kind and polite with Bulma, changed into an ashen and contemptuous grimace, casting judgment upon Trunks.
Are we going to do this the easy way or the hard way?
Huh? She reached out her hand.
Come on. Hand over the time machine, Trunks.
Trunks got into a stance.
Why should I do that? Do you intend to harm us?
Harm you? No. But you've got a lot of explaining to do. For now, though, hand it over.
Her face did not match her impish stature and cute attire. It was such a mismatch. It unnerved him, but he complied. He dropped the capsule in her hand and she pocketed it.
Good. Easy way it is. You'll be coming with me. Bulma, thank you so much for your tea. I understand that things like this must be scarce. I appreciate the gesture. I'll bring back your boy soon.
And with that, the Supreme Kai of Time and Trunks vanished out of sight. In the time streams, Chronoa and Trunks are travelling at fantastic speeds, but the future boy was very uncertain as to what was going on.
So, Supreme Kai of Time? Where are you taking me?
Chronoa in this universe is far more cold with Trunks than she was in the Xenoverse timeline, since here, Trunks had been a complete renegade, a complete and utter selfish pig, changing a timeline to be in his favour almost entirely. I'm taking you back to where you came from.
What? Came from? You mean going back home? But we already just left there.
No. The time where you'd been hiding out in.
Trunks' eyes widened.
Why? What good would it do?
Did you seriously think that you could just abandon it when things weren't going your way? And to think you started out with the best of intentions. Had you stuck to your original mission, I might have had a place for you at my side in some shape or form, or even just ignored it. But no, You made your bed. You're gonna see what you've doomed your friends to.
Trunks was processing this statement and was not liking what he was hearing. But what could he do, though? She was a supreme Kai of time, and that implied not only someone of great power, but someone also who could control time and travel through it freely. As far as he was concerned, Chronoa could just turn him into an egg. The journey through the portals continued briefly in icy silence before the colourful tendrils of a temporal temperament ceased, and Trunks found himself around Mount Paozu, in a similar place he had been when he had actually used the time machine just now to go home. He looked around and things looked exactly how he had left them.
What's this? We're right back where I left. Why?
Give it a moment.
In said moment, they turned around. Bulma and Yamcha's ship had arrived at the location and had spotted the light of the time machine disappearing out of sight. Bulma was in tears of sadness and despair. She had witnessed Trunks, the man she had once loved, not only lose his cool, but also leave them in the lurch now, as it seemed. She was inconsolable. Yamcha doing his best to calm her down and comfort her.
How could he do this? How could he go so off the deep end and then run away like that? That's not the Trunks I know. Doesn't make any sense.
Yamcha, using this chance to score some brownie boyfriend points here, sounded resolute.
I knew it. He was a coward the whole time. When the chips were down and things were going his way, he couldn't take it, and so chose to run away. I can't believe him.
Bulma was stunned. How could Yamcha be so cold and yet... He did have a point. When things hadn't gone the way he had prophesied or had experienced in his own timeline, Trunks had gotten frantic and now just... he was gone. The whole Gohan thing was proof. She stopped crying and sighed.
Let's go help Goku find Gohan, Yamcha. We're done here.
Are you sure? I mean, Trunks might come back.
No, we don't need him anymore. He doesn't need us, clearly.
With that, the ship turned around and flew back where it had come from. Trunks was left dumbstruck.
How could they not see me? We were just 20 feet from them. How could she not see me?
Chronoa looked to him with a calm expression.
We are here to show you the results of your selfish power plays. It's what you deserve.
Trunks was horrified. What had he done? It was too late to make amends, as it seemed. He'd really done it, and now he was going to be subjected to a personal horror show. The colours then merged again with one another, and they were back in the time stream. With trepidation, Trunks spoke.
Where are we going now?
All that hard work you had done with coaching the team to prepare for Vegeta and his underling, they crumbled. Goku spent months looking for his kid and got completely sidetracked with the whole thing. The rest of the team, they were also searching for Gohan. Piccolo, he was playing a game with them the whole time, giving just enough of a hint to keep their hopes alive that Gohan was okay, but then slipping away at the last moment to make the chase last as long as possible.
Did they find Gohan in the end?
I think the more pressing matter is the saying you let escape.
With his power haze gone, he remembered. He had let Raditz go, with his literal tail between his legs, to meet up with his superiors. That wasn't in the original script.
He did meet up with them. They mocked him for being battered around in a very un-Saiyan-like manner, but they were still pleased to see him, how he had grown stronger because of the battle you had, and he in turn was more than happy to return to Earth and avenge his fallen pride.
You mean there were 3 Saiyans fighting them?
Watch.
The colours came to a stop, and they were at the sight of Raditz, Nappa, and Vegeta arriving on Earth.
But wait! Raditz isn't all that strong, and Goku could stop them! What about all the training that we'd done before meeting Raditz?
You forget, Trunks. Your stunt put them back months trying to find Gohan. By the time they had done so, it was too late for them to do any meaningful training.
I don't want to see any more of this! Take me home!
She turned to him with a piercing look.
Do you really think you're in a position to boss me around, the Supreme Kai of Time? You're really unfortunate to have gotten on my bad side, boy. We're staying right here. You need to witness everything, what messing around with timelines winds up doing.
Sure enough, he did. Raditz and Goku were facing off with one another, Vegeta and Nappa taking a back seat for the moment, allowing their comrade to get his own back.
What's the matter, Kakarot? Your guardian angel no longer around to protect you? I don't sense his power anywhere. Oh, what happened? Did you two have a falling out?
This was galling for Trunks to watch because he was literally right next to them.
If it's Trunks you're talking about, he's long gone. He was more trouble than he was worth.
Oh, that's not good. Did you hear that, Vegeta? Your curiosity skipped town. Well, what do we do with the rest of them?
Vegeta was looking quite sour at this news. He tapped his scouter and was disappointed with the powers on display. Barely any of them came close to Nappa or Raditz now. Because Gohan had been missing for so long, the training had been next to no different than it was in peacetime. All their efforts spent on finding Goku's son. When they did find him, the matter of the arriving Saiyans had not only become less of a priority, they weren't actually even sure whether it was true anymore.
No.
No.
Perhaps you should have stayed and helped fix the problem instead of fleeing at the first sign of trouble. Even if you hadn't found Gohan, you could have at least been here to stop them.
Chronoa swiped her hand from right to left, and time then appeared as if it were in fast forward, like they were watching a recording. In the blur of movements that Trunks could pick out, Raditz was beating Goku down senseless, hard, with Nappa at his side, with the rest then being picked off by a swarm of Cybermen. Goku was being torn apart, with Vegeta all the while just standing there, not doing anything, laughing his head off. Trunks was disgusted. How could he have been the son of someone so cruel and callous, so lustful for power, so lustful for dominance, and knowing it every single second? Oh, the Zenny dropped.
And there it is,
Said Chronoa flatly.
you become your father's son, lauding your power over those weaker than you for your own personal satisfaction. In the end, your noble goals set by you and your mother were clouded by your Saiyan pride, gifted by your father. So sad.
She genuinely looked sad this time around, a change from her usual icy stares, her recent stint of giving Trunks the evils. She was right. He had been echoing his father's behaviour. It was only now that he had realised this. The first time he had seen his father in the flesh. What followed was harrowing for the young boy. The Dragon Team were completely torn to shreds by the three Saiyans, and there was nobody left to stop them. Goku was the only one left, and he was on the verge of death's door. He saw his son knocked out in the arms of his brother. He desperately reached up to stop Raditz from taking his son away, but Raditz spat on him.
There is nothing left for my nephew here. I do not wish to raise him in such a backwater, a dead world.
But it's not dead.
Oh, it will be when we're through with it.
With that, Goku was dead at his brother's hand. After polishing off every last Dragon Team member going, Earth was then brought to the attention of Lord Frieza, who had taken a partial interest in the planet. It wasn't that great. Trunks was then transported to Frieza's ship, still invisible to everything. When briefed, Frieza had been initially quite bored of the report on Earth because it seemed like every single basic backwater. That is until the revelation of Piccolo and Kami. Wait, stop right there. Vegeta, did you say Namekians?
I did, yes.
Interesting. Namekians is far away from their homeworld.
Yes. They're also in possession of wish-granting orbs. One of the Earthlings rabbited on about them in the desperate hope help would come for them. I believe they were called Dragon Balls.
Oh, really? Wish granting, you say? Well then, Vegeta, prepare Earth for my arrival.
At once, Lord Frieza.
Frieza had a devilish grin. Excellent. Trunks was floored. If only he could power up right now and slice his pest in half. So now what? Said the boy with venom, completely jaded at this point. Let me guess. Frieza takes over Earth or something. Chronoa shook her head.
No. Worse.
Worse? How could it get worse?
Think back to the Saiyan homeworld.
Trunks did. And in that instant, they transported back to Earth in the middle of a firestorm.
You see, Trunks, Vegeta tried to trick Frieza and use the Dragon Balls on himself. Let's just say it didn't work out too well for him. Or the planet.
In that second, Earth blew up, Frieza's ship hanging above it. Frieza sighed as he did what he did to Planet Vegeta. Here, if I couldn't have immortality, then I've at least ensured Vegeta will never get it. Shame. Those three Saiyans were sort of useful. Zarbon, prepare to head for Namek. Perhaps there will be orbs that we can use without interference. With that, the ship zipped away. So, Trunks' actions had doomed Earth entirely.
And that, Trunks, is what your power trip and then resulting cowardice produced. Total annihilation.
Now what?
Are you going to raise me to undo this happening? If so, just do it. I don't care anymore.
Chronoa shook her head. No, I'm not that cruel. You're gonna get a second chance in this timeline. Your intentions were noble at first, until you started to get ideas above your station. I will take you back to your first moments in this timeline.
Trunks sighed and was relieved. He wasn't going to die.
Wait! What about my mom? What about my own timeline?
Shouted Trunks. Chronoa looked unmoved though.
You should have thought of that before meddling with time in this way, kiddo. But don't worry, your mother will be safe. Or at least she won't come to harm. When she realized that you weren't coming back, she prepared a ship to head for New Namek, to search for it and the Dragon Balls.
Did she find them?
Chronoa ignored the question. You will go back and do over this timeline, as I said. Properly this time. And I'll be watching you the whole time. If you act nobly, like you were gonna do, you'll lead a good life, and you'll never hear from me again. However, if you pull a stunt like you did again, this whole timeline will be erased. You got that?
Trunks buckled. How can you be so composed like this? Messing around with timelines like this?
She shrugged. I'm just doing my job, kid. Now you have to do your job and try again. Remember, I will be watching.
Before Trunks could respond, Chronoa swiped and sent Trunks into a sea of color like before. Seconds later, it stopped. Not seeing anyone around him in this dense woodland, he decided to fly up the mountain he was near to get a better understanding of the area. Once he finds a flat bit of land, he decides to stop there and take in the view, which he does admit is pretty spectacular. After all, this was the first time he'd seen this much greenery at any one time since the androids had pretty much decimated most of the parks and cities. Trunks was at peace and reveled in the silence and calm nature. However, that peace was broken by a whimpering from next to him. He turned around and spotted a young girl stood next to a Renault 5 Turbo and looking at what he recognizes to be a Dragon Radar. One that his mother had knocking around, which had gathered dust since the Earth no longer had Dragon Balls. Trunks found it odd that this girl had a radar, but that's not the pressing issue right now. The girl is pointing at him and shouting,
How? How did you do that? How can you fly?
Trunks is puzzled, but then realizes something. Chronoa literally meant he would start from the beginning.
Right,
He thought to himself.
don't screw this up, Trunks.
He smiled and promised to himself not to make the same mistake again. And that's where we leave things. So what did you folks think? Do you think Trunks will do better this time, knowing that power corrupts and the Earth would be doomed if he actually acts all pig-headedly? Has he learned his lesson that time travel is not the answer for some things? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later.